Welcome to the Big Play Cleveland Show presented by FanDuel. I'm Gabriella Cruz alongside Chris McNeil, Nick Padone, and a big shout out to our producer, as always, Ryan Smith. Guys, we're coming off of a pretty kind of depressing weekend here. OSU couldn't pull it off against Indiana, although big credit to them. We'll get into it. A great game by them. And our Brownies lose a game that felt pretty winnable, especially there at the end. Takeaways this weekend.
Pain.
Yeah, I would say that, but it's also bittersweet, right, for both of these. You look at Ohio State, sure, you lose to Indiana by 3 points. That was a tough ball game, tough to watch on Saturday night. I felt we were pretty vanilla out there, but then you wake up on Sunday morning and find out, oh, how far did we fall, Nick? All the way to number 2. So you go 1-2, you still get the bye. You're going to be playing on December 31st. So everything's still in front of you except for that Big Ten title, but you can still get the natty after a few more wins here.
Well, and a lot of people actually prefer this number 2 spot because it's maybe an easier path to defending the national championship than had you held that number 1 seed. So it is certainly bittersweet. And then you look at the Browns' bittersweetness and that, yeah, it is, another embarrassing loss that is, horrible for what is now officially the most embarrassing franchise in the National Football League. Like the Titans had
take
one
over
win.
the moniker.
Yeah. By transit of power, right? Like you lose to the worst team in football. You are now the worst team in football. But Shedeur Sanders looked really good. I was really encouraged by what I saw. He's continuing to grow. And if the head coach could just get out of his way, maybe we're talking about a Browns win today.
Yeah, we're going to get all into the details. And before we pivot gears here, we want to end on a little bit of a positive note, give us some positive news from the weekend. Max Strus hosted his second annual Bowl the Land event. Kind of brings the community together, fundraises, and he likes to give back. All his teammates showed up. Let's check it out.
I think the most rewarding part is going to meet those people, going to see the smiles on their faces.
Max Strus and his Max Strus Family Foundation hosted its second annual Bowl the Land event Sunday night to raise money for local families and charities.
I lost my uncle about 8 years ago. He worked for Blue Cross Blue Shield, and when we were growing up, he would take us to the bowling with the Bears every year. So that's where this idea has come about.
For Strus, it's family over everything. That includes his Cavaliers family.
It shows you how close-knit we are as a team. We're always going to support each other no matter what.
It's definitely like a goofy family, like especially this guy right here. I love Darius Garland.
This is a team that you can be proud of the people we are as well as players. Not just Max, but all these guys in the locker room are, incredible human beings, and I'm proud to be in the locker room with each and every one of them.
The Max Strus Family Foundation has helped raise over $200,000 over the past 4 years to give back to local charities in cities Max once called home.
And see that the money that we raise and the money that we've given can help them in any way is just something that I'm very grateful to be a part of.
Today's Cleveland headlines on the Big Play Cleveland Show are brought to you by our friends at Northeast Factory Direct. And whether you're remodeling your kitchen, updating your furniture, or just looking for a new mattress this winter, Northeast Factory Direct is the place for you. No fancy showrooms, no high-pressure salesmen, just high-quality items at great prices. It gets even better for our listeners when you're checking out at Northeast Factory Direct. Ask for that extra special Big Play bonus. You're going to get hooked up a little bit extra on top of the great prices that they've already got. Visit them today. Cleveland, Euclid, Macedonia, North Canton, or check them out online at northeastfactorydirect.com.
All right, gang, 31-29, Browns falling to the Titans' final score. Let's cut to the core of this. Let's talk about that two-point conversion call. What do you think happened there, and whose responsibility or fault, if you will, does that fall on?
The analytics win out and then end up losing. Down by 2 touchdowns, you decide to go for that 2-point conversion. All the analytics people will say, well, yeah, you've got 2 attempts at this 2-point conversion. Chances are you're going to hit one of them. But my contention here is for that first one, it's about 40 to 50% that you're going to convert in the NFL. With the Browns offense, it's going to be on the low end of that. Let's be honest, right? So you got a 40% chance or so to make it. You don't make it. Well, now you're really in trouble. You've basically lost the game because that second 2-point conversion, Nick, it's only a 40% chance. 60% of the time, you're going to lose. So it all sounds good on paper that, hey, you've got 2 chances at this thing, but you really got to hit that first one. Otherwise, like we saw, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and we are mercifully heading towards a culmination of this. Like, I know everybody wants their pound of flesh. We've got a month to go, and at the end of it, it all ends the way that we anticipate that it will. But this is how the Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski regime is going to be remembered. At times, very tactical, but more times than not, completely outthinking the situation and completely second-guessing themselves. Like, they continue to put these young, talented players on their roster in positions that are like completely no-win situations. Like for Quinshon Judkins, who wasn't even here the entire preseason and the entire offseason because of his off-the-field stuff, well, of course, he forgot to pitch the ball to Gage Larvidan, who's an undrafted free agent receiver. They're putting these guys in the worst possible positions. It's already not a talented team, but Kevin Stefanski puts his guys in positions to fail, not positions to succeed, and ultimately that's how this entire regime is going to get remembered.
Yeah, is it Kevin Stefanski, though? That's the question I think that has been bubbling up. Is it really on his shoulders completely or all?
Yeah, I mean, you go from two-time Coach of the Year to now costing your team multiple wins within a season against a really bad Titans team. And I get, like, defensively, the Titans definitely have a couple pieces. We saw, like, Jeffrey Simmons is really good. They've got guys on that roster, but it's a one-win team. So to get out-coached by an interim coordinator that has never done this before, on your home turf, like that's as embarrassing as it gets, right?
And get some great production out of Shedeur Sanders all day. I mean, he exceeded just about everybody's expectations outside of Josina Anderson, I think, there on Sunday. And at home, then, you get embarrassed by a one-win team. The defense floundered. The special teams, once again, my God, Bubba Ventrone.
Well, Chris,
how do you have a job?
It's not his fault. He'll be the first to tell you when he meets with the media on Wednesday. He doesn't have a special teams ace. Let's play a quick game, right? If you were Bubba Ventrone and all of the chatter around you this week and you go up to your press conference, probably not throwing the general manager under the bus, right? Well, that's what he did. He blamed Andrew Berry for not having a special teams ace. So then what happens? He opens up the game with a 40-some yard kick return and then has a punt get blocked. Like, special teams are about as bad as if they've ever been, and I've never seen a more lifeless coordinator than Bubba Ventrone.
And in Kevin Stefanski's defense here, maybe that's the reason he goes for 2 on those last 2. Although we've had some pretty good kicking here lately, maybe he wasn't as confident in that special teams effort as, he would be going for 2 with a crazy trick play, basically.
And another muff punt is absolutely hilarious because they continue, for whatever reason, outruns Gage Larvidan to try to return these things. And it's so evident that he has no idea what he's doing. He's never done this before, but the staff continues to put a young player in a position to fail. And Kevin Stefanski sits there after the game. It's on me. I own that. Yeah, it is on you. Nobody else put Gage Larvidan on the field. The entire stadium, which was barely half full, knew, don't put Gage Larvidan on the field. He's going to muff the punt. And he did.
And what does that mean? Whenever Stefanski says that, it's on me. There's absolutely no accountability there. Everybody talks about accountability throughout this organization. He just gets up there and says it, and everybody says on paper, oh, he's taking accountability. What does that mean? We've seen 3 wins this season. We're in December right now. You just lost to a 1-win team. This is pathetic. And he's still giving you the same stuff every single week. This one's on me. We've got to do this as a team. We've got to come together. None of that has happened so far.
Well, we know that that's his safe code for I can't really tell you. But I'm going to tell you this because it's the safest thing for me to say right now. Let's circle back to Shedeur Sanders and how his performance was. 23 for 42, 364 yards, 4 total touchdowns, 1 interception. He led those 2 touchdown drives in the fourth quarter. What did you think of his leadership, his continuation of his evolution on the field there for our Browns?
Shedeur Sanders, the first quarterback with 300 yards passing, 3 TDs, and a rush TD since 1950. You know who that would be for the Cleveland Browns? Otto Graham. Not bad for the rookie. So Shedeur certainly looked great. He had that 1 bad pick, but for the most part, he was moving around in the pocket very effectively. I'd like to see him get the ball out a little quicker. That's a coachable trait. We saw him get the ball downfield. We saw Jerry Jeudy Jerry Jeudy emergence. All of a sudden, he did something. So he's able to unlock the downfield ball. He's able to get this offense moving.
He didn't stick his backflip, though.
Yep, and then he also got a snowball on the side, too.
Yeah, the fans were throwing snowballs at Jerry Jeudy, which is awesome.
He acted like he wasn't listening to any of this. He had his hands over his ears and everything.
Just pelted with snowballs. Yeah. Okay, Jerry Jeudy. Like Shedeur, like it's impossible to not be encouraged. And I think even like the craziest Shedeur Sanders haters out there, like they have to admit now that he's capable of competent quarterback play.
Yeah.
Like he is beyond capable of that. He's grown in every start. He's pushing the ball downfield. And really it makes me ask, why did we ever waste 5 weeks with Dillon Gabriel? Why was Dillon Gabriel ever a part of this thing? How'd you just put that time, energy, resources into developing Shedeur Sanders, just like everybody locally was saying, just like everybody nationally was saying, Dillon Gabriel, not an NFL quarterback. Shedeur Sanders could be an NFL quarterback. Continue to put more energy in him. We effectively wasted 5 weeks of this Browns season by playing Dillon Gabriel, but ultimately I'm really encouraged by what I saw from Shedeur Sanders. The Titans are a bad team. That defense is not bad, though. They're like middle of the pack. So I'm curious to see what he does with a month to play, because I think you continue to grow from these performances the same way that he has each and every start that he's been given.
He'll get another opportunity here against the Bears, too. They're not that great defensively against the pass. They're in the 20s, so he will have an opportunity to throw the ball around, get there on the road in Chicago, in the Windy City. It'll be interesting to see what he can do this week.
You know, last week we had Jake Trotter on the show, and he told us that he could see a completely new offense next year. How many current offensive players would you actually want back next season?
So I think you're forced to bring back Jerry Jeudy because of the cap sheet. You're forced to bring back Deshaun Watson, as that report came out this weekend, because of the cap sheet. So those are two players that you're unfortunately married to. I think both rookie running backs here to stay. I think Harold Fannin Jr. here to stay. Outside of that, I think you're looking at a whole new offense.
Yeah, the whole new offensive line, too. We also saw Ethan Posick go down, unfortunately. That's going to end up being a pretty big deal, I think. When you lose your center, especially as a rookie quarterback, that's going to be a tough one. We'll watch for that this week and through the next 4 weeks to see how we handle that. But, yeah, this offensive line is going to be totally turned over in the offseason. I don't think a lot of people realize that. We're going to have to really rebuild a whole lot of this team. Deshaun Watson has really put us in a bad spot. That's why it's so nice to see some bright spots, like a guy like Shedeur Sanders. At least we got somebody who we can root for out there, the Harold Fannins of the world. We continue to see some progress there, and that's good to see week to week.
Well, and a big round of applause as well for, the Browns PR department and the propaganda machine, because if I personally owned a product and the product was failing, and obviously the prices have plummeted, you got into the game yesterday for less than a burrito would cost you at your local Mexican joint. The last thing I would do would be to put out that report that Deshaun Watson is going to be on the roster next year, but could also be the bridge quarterback. That would probably be the last move that I would make, but they made that move. Deshaun could potentially be the bridge quarterback next year. But the silver lining in all of this is if Shedeur Sanders continues to play well over these next 4 games, he could make it a very hard decision to put that guy back on the field, which I don't think you can do in your home stadium, because you won't be able to introduce the offense, and the tickets will find a way to be cheaper than the $4 that they cost a week 14 this season.
Deshaun Watson was going to be the bridge quarterback because we didn't have another option. Shedeur Sanders has made himself an option for next season. I think that's one of the biggest stories out of this year, is we needed somebody to step forward. I don't know if he's the long-term solution, but we talk about the lotto tickets. You talk about scratching them off and throwing them away like we do with quarterbacks. We scratch this one off. There's money on this ticket. I don't know how much. I don't know whether it's $10. I don't know whether we're millionaires with Shedeur Sanders, but I do know it's enough that we want to see the rest of this season into next season, and that's a good feeling.
We were believers before, but I think I'm becoming more of a believer all the time, and I don't think Shedeur will let that guy back on the field. Let's take a break. We're going to be back with more Big Play Cleveland right after this. The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Garage Beer. No bitterness, no frills, no IPA, just beer-flavored beer. Find local retailers who sell garage beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com. Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland Show. It's time for our Garage Beer featured interview. Garage Beer is the perfect beer for any occasion. It's small batch, no frills, no bitterness. It's just beer that tastes like beer. The garage is always open with Garage Beer. And now we welcome on a very special guest, Buckeyes legend, host of the Bobby Carpenter Show on the Big Play Sports Network, Bobby Carpenter. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
All right, so the Buckeyes had their first loss of the season versus Indiana this week. What did you think of it? And could this be a good thing for them moving forward? Have a little chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever love losing, but sometimes, it exposes maybe some things that have always been there. We've heard Ryan Day talk about that there's some issues that they've had to deal with that were there that they need to get solved, they need to get corrected. But winning is a great cologne. And so you don't really have to truly confront those things until you suffer a defeat. And I mean, going into that game, I thought Ohio State would win. I thought all they had to do, they're a more talented team than Indiana. Indiana's a really darn good football team. They force you to beat them and they force you to execute. And a lot of credit goes to Indiana. They had a great game plan. They played really well. Their quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, did a great job. Aiden Fisher, one of their star linebackers, was excellent. Everybody went out there and played and did exactly what they needed to do for Indiana. So if you're Ohio State now, you take a look at it, struggled a little bit on third down, struggled some in protection. Red zone offense wasn't particularly great. And so how do you get better? How do you move on from that? And so now you get to go out there and take this microscope and take a look at it. And from that standpoint, after a loss, you do it a lot more intently than maybe after a win.
Bob, what went wrong for Ohio State offensively, or in your opinion, was it more so what did Indiana do to slow down the Buckeyes offense?
I think you looked at what they were able to do. Julian Sand had been sacked 6 times all year. He got sacked 5 times in that game. There was a lot of pressure. They moved around a lot up front, and Ohio State played Michigan the week before. Michigan, obviously, very good defense, but much different than Indiana. They're big, they're physical, they try to hold the point, they want to press you with those different things. Whereas when you look at Indiana, they're smaller, they're faster, they play really stinking hard, they play really, really aggressive, and they're going to force the issue to you. They do a great job in their zone coverages, moving around and moving on a string, great route recognition. And so, listen, I give them a lot of credit. They went out there and played well, but Ohio State has to do a better job up front offensively, like they'd done all year, passing off stunts, getting the running game going. It wasn't bad. Bo Jackson, had mid-80s. I think he rushed for nearly 5 yards a carry. As a team, their rushing yards didn't look as great because the sack yards come off of that in college football, and 5 sacks for like 29 yards lost impact that pretty tremendously. But you got to run the ball probably even a little more effective in some short yardage situations. You got to be able to pick up a 4th down when you run a quarterback sneak. Like those things that happened, like you've got to find a way to get those edges against Indiana because, like I said, they don't give you the game. They force you to go out and execute, and Ohio State really didn't do that at the level they needed to.
Bobby, everybody's drawing parallels between this game against Indiana and last year against Michigan. Famously, after that game, Ryan Day had a meeting with the entire team. How is it different this time? Is Ryan Day going to have a similar type of meeting? Is the tenor around the team the same, or has that changed?
I don't think you necessarily need that type of meeting. The Michigan situation that happened last year, that was a culmination of a lot of things that had transpired. There was a lot of people that were really upset. And not that they're not this year. You beat Michigan last week. You lost against Indiana. I think everybody can circle some of these things that have happened and said, hey, if we solve these problems, we will be okay. And there isn't some greater systemic thing. But it forces you to take a look at them. And maybe, force you, how do we continue to utilize our receivers? Maybe we try to utilize Bo Jackson a little more in some of the short yardage running game, some of the personnel stuff. Like it just makes you take a look and kind of evaluate all of it. Defensively, I thought they played pretty well, not well enough to win. But, the statement had been made that I've talked to with people over there, and defensively, they felt like if Ohio State scores 17, they're going to win every game. Well, they held them to 13. 17 would have ultimately got it done. Not in that situation, though. You got to find a way to get some more stops. You got to find a way on a 3rd down at the end of the game to get the ball back. You were able to force 1 turnover. Could you have forced more? Got some pressure on Mendoza, a lot of holding that was going on. It wasn't getting called. That's got to probably be fixed across college football. So I feel like that's almost the epidemic that's going on. But there's some tweaks that could be made. I don't think this is, a situation where guys, are worrying, are you going to lose the team? I mean, those guys love each other. They care a lot about Ryan. And I think that they're in a really good spot as far as how they are as a team. It just, they got to go out, and there was a lot of noise surrounding this week, with the National Signing Day on Wednesday, Brian Hartline taking this USF job, the Chris Henry saga, like all of those things in conjunction, it just felt a little disjointed kind of heading into the game from the outside.
Bob, what's your response to people that want to run with some, grand conspiracy here that Brian Hartline taking the USF job was some sort of big distraction for the Buckeyes? Do you think that it could have been better that it happened now before the college football playoff? Where do you fall on Hartline's entire decision to depart here before the Big Ten championship game?
Well, I think it's part of what happened with the story, like National Signing Day being then. For 90% of college football, it didn't matter because they weren't playing in they weren't playing in a conference championship. But for the rest of the teams that were playing, I mean, that's a pretty big pain in the ass. You're trying to get together a class. You've got one of the elite receivers, and there's all kinds of stuff going on around him. You're trying to make sure you land him, and then that in conjunction with Brian Hartline, I think you kind of put all those together. Not to mention, you came off a very emotional and heartfelt win the week before against Michigan. Indiana beat Purdue by 50 points. So all of those things together, I think it was one of the ingredients. If National Signing Day wouldn't have been this week, is it the Hartline deal a story? Yeah, but I don't think it's probably quite as big. I don't know that you can isolate any one of those individually, but collectively, I think that probably tells a lot of the story.
Now on to the playoffs for the Buckeyes. What do you think about them? As a 2 seed, what do you think about their path to a potential national title?
I think I like it. I mean, when you look at where they're at now, I thought they were going to be playing in the Orange Bowl. I think a lot of people believe that. Just they thought they'd keep Texas Tech out west. Well, I guess there was the consideration of Tulane playing in the Sugar Bowl. Is that a home-ish game for them, even though it'd be against Georgia? Miami staying in Miami, which as an Ohio State guy, it's like, hey, we'll play in the Peach Bowl, or we'll play in the Peach Bowl. Like, if Miami wins, great. We'll play Miami in their home field. Like, no one shows up for their games anyway. Like, that's not a big deal. But you do have to, assuming if A&M wins and the seeds hold, you'd be playing A&M in Dallas. I mean, hell, you played Texas last year in Dallas. So, I mean, it wouldn't be a whole heck of a lot different. It would be a challenge. It's going to be tough. You've got a lot of familiarity with Dallas. And, being the 2 seed there, it's like, okay, if you win in the semifinal, if the seeds hold, like you would potentially host Georgia out in the Fiesta Bowl. And I like playing Georgia in the Fiesta Bowl a lot more than I like playing them in the Peach Bowl. But when you get to this level, Indiana's good. I think Texas Tech is really good. Like the way that they finally did the straight seeding this year, you don't have those asymmetries in the matchups and who plays whom. It's going to be a tough test, and you're going to have to beat 3 really good football teams to win a national championship. And I don't know that there's any one of them that is more elite than the other. And one of the teams I wouldn't wanted to play is Notre Dame, and they're not in it. So I think it sets up pretty well.
Yeah, Bob, do you think the committee got the right 12 teams? There are a lot of teams out there with gripes about being left out of the playoffs this year. Do you think they could, or they should even expand the tournament again?
It's a big question. I think based upon their criteria and things, I don't hate who all got in. I think Notre Dame is playing better football right now than both Miami and Alabama, and I don't even think it's really close. If you look at the odds, I think they had the 5th or 6th best, maybe even 3rd. I saw one sportsbook to win the national championship. Like they are playing really good football. And to have them ahead of Miami and then have 2 idle teams flop without playing, like that's the process of how you got there is what I think is ridiculous.
Bob,
how can you have 2 teams that aren't playing move with respect to each other when neither one of them had a game? And now it's because they're they're side by side or front to back that you can compare them and you couldn't before, and the head-to-head didn't matter. Like that's bananas. So I don't necessarily hate what is happening, but in the same sense too with Alabama, I don't think you should be penalized for losing your conference championship game. A game that, like I said, 90% of the rest of the league, Ole Miss wasn't playing in it, A&M wasn't playing in it. Send them instead then if you're going to penalize them. But then also on the juxtapose that, like if you do get dominated in that game, well, that's a data point. We saw it. We can't unsee it. So I don't know how we rationalize some of this stuff going forward, probably other than to eliminate the conference championship games, which I always thought were sacred cows, but maybe in the next 3 years, the next iteration of this, you see an expansion, you see those kind of disappear.
Bob, last one for you before we get you out of here. And I know you and Schlegs are going to have the full breakdown on the Bobby Carpenter Show. For our audience that isn't subscribed, go subscribe to the Bobby Carpenter Show on YouTube now. But last one for you. What's your prediction for the national title game this year? Is there any chance that we get that Big Ten title rematch in the national championship?
Yeah, I think a rematch is very much in play. I mean, Indiana, like you look at who they would be playing, I think that they match up very favorably with that. I mean, Oklahoma's good. Bama, I don't know if Bama can beat Oklahoma, but like I said, to beat Indiana, you have to go out, execute them, and they will just keep bringing pressure. They're going to stay on you. Could they beat them? Sure. Could they beat Texas Tech? Sure. Could they ultimately, if that's Ohio State? Yeah. I mean, the short answer is, Indiana, Ohio State. Like, and with the straight seeding, I think it probably, is more of a possibility of happening, but I would say that that's the probability that I would look at, because I look at everybody else that they're playing and I don't see any of those teams that is definitively better than Ohio State or Indiana.
He is Bobby Carpenter. Go subscribe to the Bobby Carpenter Show on YouTube. Him and Anthony Schlegel, AJ Hawk always have tremendous guests on that show. Some of the best Buckeyes coverage, some of the best college football coverage around. Bob, thanks so much for joining us.
No problem.
All right, we'll be
Thanks,
back
guys.
with more Big Play Cleveland right after this.
Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland Show. It's time for our fill in the blank segment. The Cavs, currently being the 8th seed in the East, is.
At this point, it's very disappointing. I expected this team to come out strong, not like last year where you win 15 straight, but certainly put together something that you could be proud of at this point. Right now, we're not there. Obviously, we're injury riddled. We've been messing around with lineups all season long, and that makes things very difficult. So I'll be interested to see once Strus comes back and once we really get popping, whether we can get something together. But at this point, it's very disappointing.
Yeah, it is disappointing. And like, it's the nice thing is it's early. So like, if you're in this spot this time next month, like ask me this January 8th. And if you're in this same spot, then it's time to panic, because this is not a play-in team. Like, I don't think you're the only roster in the NBA that's in the second apron and you're going to be in the play-in. Like, that would be unacceptable. Ooh. But it's so early in this season. The one thing that they have to eradicate is they've got bad habits. I mean, you're losing some bad games on your home court, like to lose to the Portland Trailblazers and the Golden State Warriors at home at Rocket Arena. Like, you're more talented than these teams, even with Strus out, even with Merrill out, even with DG in and out of the lineup. Like, you have more talent on your roster than these teams, so you have to start winning at home, because these games ultimately do count the same as the games in April and May do. So you don't want to get too far behind now, because the last thing you want to do is be playing desperate basketball in the spring.
Right now, only 3 games back of the 2-seed Knicks. So we're not in a bad spot. We don't want to get any farther into the hole. Got to continue to kind of get out of that hole and get moving forward.
Yeah, the injuries I feel like have definitely plagued us a little bit. I noticed even at the bowling event yesterday, different guys bowling with the other opposite hand. Something was bothering them. Jared Allen didn't bowl at all because both of his hands.
Inside information.
He said both of his hands are kind of screwed up right now. So, I mean, just that they're a little banged up. You know, it's not an excuse, but just to put everything into context, I could see, like, to your point, Nick, next month we might get a better picture of things coming together for them. How about the Cavs missing the NBA Cup knockout rounds for the 3rd straight year? Does this matter to you?
It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing to me. I think we pick up a couple of games against lesser teams, so that's not bad. I think we got Washington and Charlotte, so that's not a bad thing. But no, other than that, it doesn't bother me one bit.
Yeah, and a week of paid time off. You know, so if these guys are going to be banged up or injured, or, you know, they were, you know, too injured to play, I guess, like, yeah, put those hands in ice over this week. You don't play a basketball game until Friday, and try to use this week off to get a little bit healthy. I don't care about the NBA Cup at all.
Let's switch gears here. My prediction for Ohio State in these playoffs is?
Title or bust. I mean, that's what we're looking at right now. That's what we've been talking about all year. That's the expectation in Columbus these days. So title or bust. Let's go, Julian Sane. Let's get the ball downfield. Ryan Day, we did it just last year. This little setback is going to propel us through the playoffs. So let's get it done, boys.
I agree. That really is what this is all set up for. Chris, we said it, right after they beat Texas. Like, this is run up to set the table, and you had the setback in the Big Ten championship game. That was a winning game. Are we allowed to rip these guys now that they make money in college?
Right.
If you're a kicker at Ohio State, you should probably be able to make a
Can't bet them on a parlay,
30 in, but goodness, I don't know what happened there. Maybe a little kicker change for the college football playoff, and the Buckeyes are going to be just all right.
Ohio State's next offensive coordinator should be.
It seems like a natural to bring back Chip Kelly. I don't know. It's kind of mixed reactions. I thought he did a fine job when he was here in Columbus. And also, Ryan Day obviously has a good relationship, a good working relationship with Chip Kelly. So it seems like a natural. It didn't go well there with the Raiders. We all know that. But for him coming back, I'd love to see what he could do with this offense going forward.
I'm curious to see. I know Bobby Carpenter said that he might not be interested in college football. What about Brian Dable?
Oh, interesting.
That'd be cool. He was lead candidate for the Penn State job. And Kevin Stefanski,
no,
Ohio State offensive coordinator.
He may be free.
Interest?
He may be free.
I think he's gonna be.
We're gonna take a break. We'll be back with more Big Play Cleveland right after this. Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland Show. This Smart Choice segment is brought to you by Smart Choice Windows. Right now at Smart Choice Windows, you can get 50% off all windows during our limited time promotion. Plus, take advantage of their special financing with no money down and no interest until 2027. If you're looking to upgrade your whole exterior, Smart Choice Windows is offering $1,500 off siding for your entire home and $500 off entry door installation to boost your curb appeal. And remember that every project starts with a free, no-pressure estimate. So give them a call at 844-GET-SMART or visit smartchoicewindows.com and make sure to ask about the Big Play bonus to get an additional 10% off all promotions. We're giving you the scenario. Fellas, you're going to tell me the smart choice. It was reported, we did talk about it, Browns planning to bring back Deshaun next season. When it comes to building next season's quarterback room, the smart choice is
ride with Shedeur. I think that's one of the advantages of him playing well right now. You can bring him into next season. You don't have to draft a quarterback. I don't want to draft a quarterback in this draft. I don't think that the elite quarterbacks are going to fall to us where we're going to be picking. So fill all the other holes on this team and roll with Shedeur next year.
I don't think there's even a debate. Like, Shedeur Sanders is the most sensible path forward for the Browns because look at what San Fran did with Brock Purdy. They had made their own mistake, obviously not to the tune of 3 first-round picks and $230 million, but when they drafted Trey Lance in the top 5 and they didn't find their franchise quarterback there, they were able to come out of that actually looking smart because they found Brock Purdy and they only had to pay him that 7th round salary for those first couple of years in the league. So you could get off of this Deshaun Watson contract because not only is Shedeur Sanders a rookie quarterback, he's a 5th round rookie quarterback. So if for all these people out there that hate Shedeur Sanders, that they want to see him fail because they don't like the wrist up celebration or they don't like the rap songs and that kind of stuff, like, you guys should probably turn into being really big Shedeur Sanders fans because he actually is the most sensible path through all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about the Cavs and their continued struggles here. They're 14-11 and they're the 8th seed in the East. If the Cavs want to compete this year for that title, the smart choice is
stay healthy, get your rotation set, have the regular rotation be out there competing night after night. We talked last year when the team was doing so well in the regular season, how little the regular season matters. Now we're at the opposite end where we're not playing well in the regular season. I still contend the regular season doesn't matter a whole lot. It's more us coming together. You don't want to be the 8th seed, obviously, at the end of the season, but you want to grow over the course of the season. One of the advantages of having these injuries early is these guys will come out rested later on. on. So I'm anxious to see what happens once everybody gets in there and turns this thing around.
I will say I would like to mix some stuff up. And I know like trades are really hard because of the second apron. Like that's a real thing. Like, you're not going to be able to get in the trade machine and just lab up and make a bunch of moves. But that trade deadline is kind of fast approaching. So I don't know if they're going to have the luxury to wait around forever for some of these guys to get all the way healthy like we want them to. When playoffs come around, I would like to see a little Naquan Tomlin. I think I would like to see a little Jalen Tyson, because these guys are what the core four might be, and that is soft. I think like Jalen Tyson brings a little bit of attitude. Naquan Tomlin brings a little bit of attitude. And if Jared Allen's getting pushed around in the first, second round of the NBA playoffs, you could bring in a guy like Naquan Tomlin who's got a little bit of an attitude. You could bring in Thomas Bryant, who's not afraid to throw a couple elbows. Like, I think you got to use all of your guys this year come April, because the core four, we know what they are. And come playoff time, they do get pushed around. Like, we've got 3 years of evidence that prove that.
All right, we're going to finish on some college football and snubs here. If you had to pick one team that probably has the most legitimate gripe with the college football playoff selection committee, the smart choice is...
Boy, the Golden Domers out there crying a whole lot after not making the playoff and then subsequently deciding they're not going to a bowl game overall. I don't know. The one problem that I have right now with the playoff, it sounds good to have Cinderella teams because we love it in college basketball. In college football, I don't know if it works. James Madison... right now, and then Tulane. I don't know that both of those teams really excite me very much. I'd rather see a Notre Dame in there, so I could see the gripes there. But overall, I'm fine with it. You had the whole season to make your resume, and if you're a Notre Dame and you're not able to do enough to get in, you lost to Miami at the very beginning of the season, and I know, young quarterback, early in the season, but at the end of the day, you're a big school. You have every advantage to get in. If you didn't do enough, you didn't do enough.
And I think the simple fix here is probably to join a conference. Like, I think that solves a lot of this. But I will say, to answer Gab's question, I think the smart choice would have been to put in Notre Dame and to put in Texas. And I get they want to do this group of 5 thing where you could get in JMU, you could get in Tulane, you could have some feel-good stories. But what that's going to result in is a crappier product for us, the fans. Like, I want to watch good football. You know, I don't want to see a game that's a 20-point spread, a 25-point spread. Like, Notre Dame would have been competitive in their first-round matchup. Yeah. You know, like Texas and Arch Manning and having that storyline in the playoff would have been competitive. Same with BYU. Like, some of these teams I definitely think deserved it over James Madison and Tulane. So I'm, you know, glad for these smaller schools because it's a nice payday for them and it's going to help them out a ton. But ultimately, these games are going to be pretty much unwatchable college football playoff games. And I don't think that's necessarily the solve either.
This segment also brought to you by Smart Choice Baths. It's the perfect time to remodel your bathroom, and right now, Smart Choice Baths is giving you $1,250 off your bathroom projects, plus a free luxury upgrade to add comfort and style. And just for Big Play viewers, you'll save an additional 10% on your project. So don't wait. Visit them at smartchoicebaths.com or give them a call at 844-GET-SMART to schedule your free consultation today. Smart Choice Baths, where luxury meets affordability.
Big Play Bets on the Big Play Cleveland Show, presented by our friends at FanDuel. You know how fast NFL game days move. One big play and everything changes. That's why live betting on FanDuel is truly a game changer, because with FanDuel, you could bet in real time while the game unfolds. If the score just flipped, jump on a new spread or live money line. If wide receivers heating up, bet that next touchdown score or total yards. Think of drive stalls in the red zone, take a live field goal prop or fade the total. Live player props, team totals, drive results, updated spreads, next play markets. It's all right there. It's fast, it's fun, and with FanDuel, your live bets move as quickly as the game does. So whether you're riding the momentum or fading the hype, FanDuel puts you right in the middle of every single moment. Visit FanDuel.com/bigplay to download the app and live bet the NFL with us all season long. Must be 21 plus, present in select states. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com.
All right, gang. The Browns are 7.5-point underdogs this week, playing the Bears in Chicago. Do you have any faith in them winning this game?
7.5 points is a big spread in the NFL. That's
Yeah.
absolutely huge. Chicago's playing some good ball right now. We all know that. But, Nick, as we were talking about earlier, they're not particularly great defensively, so I think there's some opportunity for the Cleveland Browns to move the ball. With the newfound kind of energy from Shedeur Sanders, I could see us keeping this game a little close. I think the defense is going to play better. Who knows if we figure out anything from a special team standpoint, but I think they could do just enough. 7.5, I like maybe losing by a touchdown only. That little hook is very, very enticing at the end of that, so I'm going to go Browns. I think they cover this week.
It's such a fascinating game, and obviously the reason to tune in is because of Shedeur Sanders, and then the Browns probably lose this game. This is an organization that finds a way to pull a defeat out of the jaws of victory, like losing to the Tennessee Titans. That was probably the last winnable game on the schedule for the Browns, so I probably won't pick them to win a game the entire rest of the way, but can they keep this thing close? Absolutely, because Shedeur Sanders, if he could continue to give you competent quarterback play, and this defense could get back to what we know this defense is, then you should have a chance against the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams has been pretty good this year, so I'm curious to see if the defense could kind of find a way to bounce back and complement what Shedeur might bring to this offense. Could be a really fun game here.
The Bears are the 8th highest scoring team in the NFL, 25.7 points per game. The over-under opened at 39.5. Are you taking the over or the under this week? This is
First
Chris.
time this year, I'm going to take the over. I guess I'm just filled with optimism because of Shedeur, but I think that the Browns offense can get going there in Chicago. So why not? I know Chicago is probably going to score a little bit on our defense. I think the Browns are going to do just enough to get over that number. Give me the over at 39.5.
Well, Chris, they literally almost doubled the total last week. It was the lowest total of the year at 33.5, 60 combined points, because the Browns found themselves in a bit of a shootout with the Titans. So I'm team avoid these totals, because Browns games are weird and no Browns game is like the other. So I'm completely staying away from this. If I had to pick, I'm kind of with Chris. I kind of want to lean the over, because I know Chicago's offense is really excited and they've figured things out with their new head coach in Ben Johnson. I'd like to think that Shedeur could continue to grow and put up some points himself, so I'll tend to lean towards the over.
Let me know if there's any other stats bets you're confident in, but the anytime touchdown scorer, who's going to get in the end zone this week?
We've been sticking with the tight end position. David Njoku gets in the end zone, unfortunately gets hurt after that. Harold Fannin as well. Jerry Jeudy makes an appearance for the first time in forever, it seems. I'm going to stick right there with the tight end, so give me Harold Fannin once again. It's old reliable anymore for me on this bet, and I like him to get into the end zone.
It's crazy, like the connection that he's found with Shedeur Sanders. You could see when he's scanning the field that he certainly trusts Harold Fannin. Like when they got the football back, it was a throw to Harold Fannin Jr., not the touchdown, but it was a throw that started that touchdown drive that resulted in a Harold Fannin Jr. touchdown. So you could tell that Shedeur definitely does trust him, and I think the rest of the way that's going to be a safe bet. I was surprised that Quinshon Judkins didn't find his way into the end zone against the Tennessee Titans. I think they really went all out to stop the run. They went all out to wall up and then load the box and make Shedeur beat him with his arm, which he did all the way up until the end. So I'll maybe sprinkle a little bit on Quinshon to find his way back into the end zone as well.
All right, the over-under for Browns wins this season currently sits at 4.5. Is under 4.5 free money?
They think they think there's two more wins on this schedule.
We got Chicago, Buffalo,
Pittsburgh,
and the
Cincy.
Bengals, right? Those four. I don't think so. I think maybe one. I think we luck into a win, and maybe the Shedeur magic gives us one win. That's not enough. That hook's going to get you, Nick.
I mean, if your name is Kevin Stefanski right now, you're probably hoping that you find a way to hit that over on 5 wins, because I think that means that you played a big spoiler in one of Chicago, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, or Cincy. Buffalo and Pittsburgh are home games, even though those are teams way better than the Browns. At least it's his home, but you just lost to the Tennessee Titans at home. There's no way that I touch that over. And yeah, I'm on under. I think they finished this season with 3 wins. I really do.
It'd be a very Browns way to end the season, though, to win 2 of those games. Kevin Stefanski goes, look, we have momentum going into next season. Let's keep Shedeur. Let's keep Kevin Stefanski. Let's roll it on back.
I think the counter argument there might be, hey, but Kevin, you didn't want this guy. Remember, you like the supercomputer, the Chromebook, Dylan Gabriel. So you don't get to call your shot and have fun with Shedeur now that the rest of us are all ready to have a little bit of fun with Shedeur. It's going to be somebody else's job here now.
How about the college football national championships and the odds there? Ohio State is ahead of Indiana by 70 points. They're plus 220, Indiana plus 290. Georgia, Oregon, all the rest are a good few hundred points behind. What is your prediction?
Well, I already said I like the odds-on favorite. I like Ohio State. Obviously, they're tried and tested at this point. They've had their setback. Now it's time for Ryan Day to do exactly what he did last year, and I'm ready for it. I can't wait until December 31st. Let's get this thing going.
Completely agree. Like, there are only a couple of teams in the entire field that can hang with the Buckeyes, and I think you saw, like, Indiana's certainly one of them. I think Georgia's one of them. But last year, the Buckeyes got the best of Oregon, so I like Ohio State. I'm with you, Chris. And at plus 220 right now on FanDuel, that's actually some decent value because they are the best team in the nation. I know everybody saw the Big Ten championship game, and there probably is going to be some money sprinkled on Indiana, but it's really hard to win a big game like that twice. So if it is a Big Ten title game rematch in the national championship, man, I love the Buckeyes in that scenario.
All right, before we get out of here, don't forget to tune in every Tuesday at 7 p.m. for a full breakdown of everything Cleveland Browns with Hanford Dixon, Josh Cribbs, and Phil Taylor. You can catch it live on X, YouTube, or the Big Play app. It's called The Top Dogs Show, only on the Big Play Sports Network. We'll see you next week.